Hey guys, it's Maymay, and tonight I have a project for you that I think is seriously cool. I kind of figured this out by accident. I was playing around with this new silicone mat that I got from my hot glue gun, and I just kind of had some stringers and stuff on the mat, and I thought I was going to try this. So here's what I'm doing. I took a hot glue gun and I have just run strips of hot glue down the mat. They're not touching each other. They're about an inch apart. They don't have to be that far apart, but I just ran them down the mat. They don't have to be straight. They actually, if they have more curve to them, they're better. But you just run hot glue strips down the mat and let them dry. And so I'm going to, on this tutorial, I'm going to run all the way down because I'm going to make several of these at once. And this is what I think is so cool. I mean, how much is hot glue? It's just pennies a stick, and most of us have a hot glue gun, and so you can make a lot of these little embellishments. Now here I'm picking up the silicone mat while the glue is wet, and I'm just kind of dropping it to kind of flatten out the strips of glue, and then I just kind of pat it once it's cool enough to touch. This really doesn't flatten it out really, really flat, but it just kind of gives it a wider than, like if you have a low melt glue gun that's going to harden quicker, you'll want to kind of flatten it some. But if you have, like my glue gun is so hot, that glue will kind of run kind of flat because you don't want it to be a complete circle, but completely cylindrical, but you want it to be kind of flat. So there's your strips. Now what you do, this is so neat, you just peel them off, and I'm going to try to show you this because this is clear and we're working over black and it's hard to see, but all I'm doing is peeling it off and twirling the hot glue around itself on the flat side, because the part that's on the silicone is going to be flat. And I apologize, I get completely off screen right here, but I do come back in a minute and show you. I apologize for this, but this is a really good rose too that turns out. But I just think this turned out really neat. I can't wait for you to see it on the card project, which I'm going to do a separate video for that because this turned out to be a pretty long process. So the next video will be the actual project. But there you go. You just literally coil the hot glue up on itself, and then you put a dot of glue back on the silicone mat, and you just place that coil into the silicone, and into the hot glue, and just let it sit. And it doesn't seem to release or anything, and you can kind of press it into it. And I just do this one more time, and this time I hope that I get this one on screen for you guys. I really want you to see me do this. Okay, good. All right, so you just curl the flat side. Now, you don't have to curl the flat side. You can curl the round side up and have the flat side showing out. I noticed that if you put the flat side out, you get a sharper petal, and if you put the round side in, you get more of a real coil. So it just depends on what you want it to look like. You just need to play with it. And this is costing you pennies, if pennies. So you could play with this and play with this. And notice how skinny this one is, and you think that this might not work, but it's pretty neat. This one turns out really coily, but that's okay because a lot of the flowers nowadays are just coils of ribbon or coils of twine or thread, or paper, like quilling. So another dot of hot glue, and just place that little coil inside of it and just leave it there to dry. And you just do that with every single one of them all the way down. It's kind of neat because you can really make a lot of these in a very short period of time. I had made 2 earlier before I started filming because I was just playing. So I have 2 of them off to the side, plus these would give me, I think this gives me 8 with the ones that I have off to the side as well. And it just quick and easy and costs nothing. So one more dot of glue, and then stick that inside. Now I'm going to skip on to, they're all coiled up and they've all dried. And I know they're hard to see because it's clear, but in just a second I'll get you a pretty good shot. All you're going to do now is peel them up off of your acrylic or your silicone mat, which I think are amazing. Move that out of the way. And now you're going to have some like stringers, and you're going to have some spots on the glue where you put the dot that kind of spread out around the sides of it. So what you're going to do is take a pair of scissors, and I just use my Tim Holtz because nothing sticks to them. And I just kind of cut around the bottom edge of that rose at an angle, not really affecting the strip that I had created with the hot glue, more cleaning off the dot that I sat it into, because that was just kind of, it kind of splattered out, You can see it there. It's kind of hanging off the edge, but I'm literally just cleaning up the edges of where it sat on the mat. And this is where they just really start to come together. This one has a lot of messiness, so I'm going to clean that up. I even trimmed that piece down a little bit because I think it's a little bit big. So you can cut them and trim them. You can make them, thinner. Like if you want to cut them in half. I didn't try that, but I thought I could have cut them in half down the center, but I didn't. So you just trim them all up, make them nice and neat. I think this is my favorite part. I love, how weird is this? I love to feel the scissors cut through the hot glue. It's just like, it's just kind of, I don't know, therapeutic maybe. It's not like cutting paper. It's very different. You could really see how much was on that one. That one was really, that flat piece was really on there. And then one more and get the little edges off of it. I just love how these turned out. And by the way, I told you before, those Tim Holtz scissors are amazing. They are amazing. So look, now we have 2, 4, 6 roses there. And what you'll do next is you're going to take out a piece of, I just used a piece of scrap paper, or if you have like something you paint on normally, that is some Dotto temporary adhesive. So I ran 2 strips down that page. And I'm going to use that to hold the roses in place, because once you start painting them, which is what we're going to do, you want to be able to get the paint all the way around so that it goes down the side as well. So I separate them a pretty good bit apart and just stick them to that temporary adhesive. That way I don't have to get paint all over me or have to use a toothpick or tweezers or anything. It's real simple. Now the paint that I'm going to use is just your basic acrylic paint. This is apple barrel paint. I buy black, red, and white in big bottles because I use that so much because those are my favorite color scheme. And so I take this red, and the brush I'm going to use, if you notice, has a point on it. To me, this is important, and I'll tell you why. I want that point to be able to get in between the created petal look. So you want it to get in between that coil so it paints all the way down. And you'll notice I'll just kind of take the brush and almost use the coil as my direction, just kind of go around it, pointing down into it like that. And then I take the paint and rub around the sides of it. Now, I've found in doing this that once you put this first layer of paint on, you want to let it dry completely. I've noticed when I went back on one of them that wasn't quite dry and did a second coat, the second coat kind of would bead up on the petals, and it almost looked like it had a texture to it, and I didn't love that. So what you want to do is let them dry completely, and then you'll be able to come back in and do a second coat. Now those are the 2 I did earlier. They just had a single coat on them. Those are my test ones, which I think turned out decent, and I'm putting a second coat on them here. Now let these dry completely before you do anything else with them. Just let them sit and dry. Do something else while they're drying. And then once they do dry, you want to put a second coat on them. So these now have 2 coats. And I considered painting the bottom, and I looked at it, but I realized that the color is pretty rich without having to paint the bottom, and I didn't really want to have to wait. So there you go. I'm just tearing them off. Now some of that paper tore off with it. No big deal. Just peel it off because that's a temporary adhesive. It's going to come right off, and you are creating roses. They're all different sizes, which is cool because, they are different sizes. I got roses today from my husband for Valentine's Day, and I noticed that, some of them are open and some of them are closed and some of them are buds and, some of them are really, really open, and that's kind of what you create with this. It doesn't matter the size or anything. It's just the technique. I just love the way this turned out. I'm going to show you. I'm going to put them on some on a background where you can see them really good. Just put them on some white cardstock. And you'll just see how and I'm not laying them out in a shape. I'm just literally putting them here for you to see them. But when I used to work at a craft store and I taught craft lessons, we used to use hot glue in lots of different ways. And I don't know if they still make it. I know they used to make this where it was hot glue that was actually glitter sticks. Look how cute it is, guys. Look at the dimension. I think it is so neat. In a second, I turn my hand where you can really see that dimension. I mean, that petal, there's literal like petals in there. There you go. See that dimension and stuff? I just think it's cool. But we used to use like glitter sticks. If you could find those glitter hot glue sticks, this would be super cool to do with that. But that's what it is, guys. They are hot glue roses. I'm trying to get them where you can see them, and that's all there is to it. So here's a photo of my finished card project using the hot glue roses. I think it's pretty neat. Hey guys, don't forget to visit my website, which is maymaymadeit.com. Sign up and you could be in my drawing. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.